Shefty, a lot of people have questions about Bijan's usage yesterday for whatever reason. He just kind of wasn't playing, and then he had some comments after the game that I think we had that still kind of leave a lot of questions lingering.
Head was hurting, and I was just trying to see how I was going to feel on the field, and I was just going down. So talked to Will Smith, and he was like, I don't want to risk anything. We have Tyler and CP, and they did really well today. Those are my brothers. But yeah, it was really tough this morning. But hey, God is good for getting us this win, though. It was more.
Okay, so that's what he's saying, Ty.
Yeah, so Shefty, did he get hurt during the game? Was this something leading up to when kickoff happened? And how was he able to actually speak with reporters post-game? Because usually, typically if guys are hurt, I don't think they're required to speak with the media, right? So what's going on with Bijan?
Well, I can tell you everybody was freaking out about it during the course of the game because I'm getting texts from all sorts of people that have him on their fancy. What's going on with Bijan? He didn't get into the game until there were 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Arthur Smith told Christina Pink at halftime he wasn't feeling well. That's what he said. And I think when you have somebody like Bijan, he's not getting in there, I'm going to take Arthur Smith at his word that he just wasn't feeling well. I was texting with somebody with the Falcons during the course of the game because so many people were flipping out about the whole thing. And I just feel like what it sounds like is he wasn't physically feeling well enough to be out there. And so they have all these other weapons. So they were leaning on Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson and the other backs that they have. Just wasn't feeling right. And I would imagine once he's feeling better this week, which I would expect, we will be back to seeing Bijan. But that's the thing with Arthur Smith. He always has so many guys. If you look back at his offenses, there are always a multitude of players who are scoring touchdowns. His guys, there are more players scoring from his team than anybody else. He spreads it around. He doesn't care who you have on your fantasy team. He doesn't care that Bijan Robinson's your starting running back. He doesn't care about your prop bet for Bijan Robinson going over certain. He cares about making sure that everybody's producing here, that the offense is performing to its maximum.
Really?
And he didn't feel like yesterday that Bijan was up to it.
Hey, did you tell Field Yates that, Arthur Smith is trying to win games too, because it's not fantasy football, it's real life football for him, and he could potentially get fired. We know he probably has a good backup plan. We very much understand that, but I think, the amount of people just being like, oh, Arthur Smith just doesn't like Bijan Robinson. It was,
no.
That was a wild theory, but for me, the interview afterwards, and I'm not somebody who suffers from migraines, thank God, by the way. That sounds like the absolute worst. But I think he alluded to headaches and he wasn't feeling good. And then after the game, there's a lot of lights and he's talking, and in there he's talking. Did it settle during the game? Is that what happened? Did they find a good treatment? Or
I don't know. Listen, I get migraines, so they have medicines that they can give you. And I'm sure by that point, if he weren't feeling better, he wouldn't be in a locker room that's well lit with reporters around talking to them, right? So whether he took Nurtec or Ubrelvy or whatever it is, right? I know my migraine medicines here, Pat, having been through them. And I always remember, the first team that I ever covered was Terrell Davis, the Broncos, and he used to get migraines. And I remember he was in the Super Bowl, and there's the great sound clip, the sound bite of all time, where he comes to the sideline, he says to Mike Shanahan, I can't see. And he goes, don't worry. You don't have to see on this play. Just run into the line of scrimmage. That's all you have to do. And he ran into the line of scrimmage, and LA bootlegged around for a touchdown, and they scored and they won the Super Bowl. But I know that migraines can be very debilitating. I've seen it happen with players. I've experienced it myself. If he had a migraine yesterday, then Arthur Smith was obviously doing the smart, wise, careful, considerate thing by not playing him, despite the fact that it caused a meltdown among all the people that roster him in fantasy football.
Yeah, Percy Harvin, too. You think back to what could have been with what migraines did to him. I'm very thankful that my brain did not choose to have that something that happens to him. And if that's what Bijan's going through or going to continue to go through, hey, God bless you, buddy. Godspeed. That is no fun at all. Hopefully, Nurtec, what'd you say? Nurtec and who?
Nurtec, Ubrelvy. Yeah, you want to get me out for a spokesman for one of these things, I'm happy to do that.
We're a big pharma show. We're a big pharma show. Yeah, you've heard, Shefty. Darius has a question for you.
I want to ask you about some injuries with my Miami Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, he's been trending reportedly in the right direction. But Xavier Howard, somebody I thought would make this game, make the trip. He didn't make the trip, obviously, with the groin injury that's been bothering him for a while now. And then Jalen Waddle in the back popped up, and he got in there and tried to play through. Any updates for those injuries from those guys?
Well, Xavier Howard was there, just didn't play.
Yep.
So that tells me that they just didn't feel well enough, which I was surprised. I didn't realize that he was in danger of missing that game, but he did. They played fairly well without him. I mean, A.J. Brown popped off a little bit there. But I would think that it won't be long for him. Jalen Waddle was obviously back spasms because he went out of the game. He could barely walk. And then he came back in and finished the game. And usually, as you know, if you finish the game, then you're typically all right. But that's not a simple thing to get through. And Jalen Ramsey he's just tracking to play. It wouldn't shock me if we saw him this or next week. First of all, the window opened, so it has to be within the next couple of weeks. It's way sooner than everybody expected.
Yep.
Again, initially, the people thinking it'd be December. If he plays next week, it's October. The guy is way ahead of schedule. He's been pushing to come back. You're going to see him sooner rather than later, whether that's this week or next week.
We can't wait to see you, Jalen.
Yep.
Can't wait to see you back in football, honestly. He's been listening to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a couple tweets on X that he's put out there about, everybody's talking like they know. Kind of sounds like Aaron.
Well, he likes to control his narrative, and he likes to put out little messages. So I'm sure he'd like to report when he's coming back, and I'm sure it'll be soon.
And I'm sure you're going to try to cuck him out of that.
No, Pat. People want to do what they want to do. I always say people can do whatever they want with their information. That's not an issue. Jalen wants to announce he's got. It's all him, baby.
But also, if you get the information from somebody else, Jalen. Well,
Yeah, what do you want me to do?
That's my job. Sorry, it came another way. That's why you insiders, different level of committed.
Oh, yeah.
Because that text might come 2:45 a.m. This guy already told us he's got migraines. He's already got the solutions. Can't see his phone. Gotta get the post out. It's amazing. Connor has a question for you, Schefter.
Yeah, Schefter, we are wrapping up Week 7 tonight, and it feels like this is about the time where some teams are thinking about, moving in a different direction with, coaches or certain members of the team, whether that be the deadline or not. One team in particular that feels like every single year we go into the season expecting big things out of them is the Chargers. Is there any chance Staley's seat is hot, or are they one of those teams that'll probably finish out the year before making a move that is as drastic as firing a head coach?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like them to make a change in season. I don't think that people have seen the level of improvement that we thought we would from them. So the questions are going to come up with that team the way they are with any other team that's not producing up to its expectations. And I think there were people who thought at the end of last year, I know they like to move on from it, not bring it up, that the Chargers would consider making a change after they blew the lead against Jacksonville in the historic postseason loss. And they didn't. And they stood by their staff. But I think when you go through a year like this and don't show the improvement that everybody hoped, those questions are going to come right back up again, and here they are. You know what's amazing is we're wrapping up Week 7, going into Week 8, so we're halfway through the year, and we haven't seen a single team make a head coaching change yet, which usually there's one that pops off early in the year. Like last year, we had Carolina with Matt Rule. We had the Colts with Frank Reich going to Jeff Saturday.
Thank God.
2 last year, relatively early. This year, none, which we applaud the owners for being stable.
Yeah, look at their patience.
Yeah.
I don't know. Magic Johnson did something.
What about LaFleur, Schefty?
Well, Magic Johnson, those are some powerful tweets that he's putting out there. Like
Every
he might not
time,
have gotten
yeah.
anything yet.
He knows ball.
But he's hinting at something.
right.
He's hinting at something there.